What if I told you that you're not weak? The pain you carry, the failures you hate, the chaos that breaks you, none of it means you're broken. It means you're untrained. Society calls you fragile. The Stoics call you unrefined iron strong, but not yet tempered. You're not meant to shatter under pressure. You're meant to become under it. Most people don't fail because they lack potential. They fail because they lack discipline. They've never been taught how to suffer with purpose, how to turn pain into power. They avoid discomfort and then wonder why life feels impossible. The Stoics knew that what separates the weak from the strong is not birth or luck, but training. It's repetition. It's mastery of the mind before mastery of the world. Epictetus was a slave by birth, flogged and ridiculed, yet became one of the great philosophers in history. Marcus Aurelius ruled over the world, betrayed, fought war, and saw death, but wrote nothing except about benevolence and self-restraint. These men weren't superhuman. They were trained. And they did it through the same tools available to you right now: thought, patience, and relentless self-discipline. But here's the problem: the modern world has trained us in reverse. We're taught to seek comfort, not courage. We've been conditioned to run from pain instead of growing through it. Every scroll, every click, every convenience, it softens the edge of who we could be. And the result, a generation that feels lost, anxious, and disconnected from their own power. You are not weak, you're out of practice. You have forgotten that struggle is sacred, that discomfort is your greatest teacher. And that's what this message is: a reminder, a wake-up call, and a battle cry for your mind. Before we go further, understand this is not a motivational speech. This is not background noise for your workout or something to play while you sleep. This is training, real mental conditioning. Every principle you'll hear in this journey was forged in hardship, tested by men and women who faced everything we fear today: failure, rejection, loss, chaos, and rose above it with calm. So if you're serious about growth, don't just listen, train. Sit upright. Focus. Breathe. This is your session, not for your muscles, but for your will. The body follows the mind, and if the mind is untrained, the body will always quit first. Let's start where every Stoic began: at the battlefield within. For the Stoics, it was a war for reason. A war between what you feel and what you know. Every day you wake up, there's a battle waiting between emotion and discipline, impulse and choice, reaction and control. And most people lose before they even open their eyes. They let emotion win. They let comfort decide. They let fear write the story. But not you, not anymore. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is not a poetic quote. It is a blueprint for mental sovereignty. You can't control the weather, the economy, the opinions of other people, but you can always control your judgment, your focus, your next action. Every emotion, every distraction, every temptation, it's a test. It's asking you one question: who's in charge here? The Stoics trained every day to answer that question with action, not talk. When anger came, they practiced patience. When fear rose, they stood still. When comfort whispered, they did the hard thing anyway. They didn't wait to feel ready. They trained their minds to obey their principles instead of their moods. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." Meaning, stop talking about who you want to be and start living it. You say you want strength. Prove it. You say you want peace. Practice it. You say you want control. Then stop reacting like a puppet every time life pulls the strings. Training doesn't happen when it's easy. It happens when everything inside you screams to stop and you don't. That's the moment when weakness begins to die and strength begins to live. The Stoics believed pain was the forge of the mind, the fire that burned away the illusion, leaving only what's real. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Seneca. It is not the easy days that make you powerful. It is the days which seem impossible when you are tired, alone, and unseen, yet you keep moving. That's the training ground of the modern warrior. So here's your first challenge: stop calling pain an enemy. Start calling it your instructor. Every moment of discomfort is a lesson in disguise. Every failure is feedback. Every rejection is a redirection. You're not weak, you're just untrained to see struggle for what it really is: the pathway to mastery. The Stoics didn't worship comfort. They worshipped control, and they earned it day by day, through small, deliberate acts of discipline, rising early, staying silent when provoked, enduring hunger or cold without complaint, meditating on mortality. These weren't rituals of suffering. They were exercises in freedom. Because freedom doesn't come from escaping difficulty. It comes from no longer fearing it. Music fades to silence. Only the slow rhythm of breathing remains. This is where the training begins, not with swords or armor, but with stillness. Sit with your emotions, observe them. Don't react. The moment you can feel anger without becoming anger, feel fear without surrendering to it, that is when you begin to control the battlefield of your own mind. The world rewards reaction, but Stoic philosophy rewards restraint. This is a wake-up call. Stop running from the storm. Step into it, because the fire that burns you is the same fire that can forge you. You are not weak, you are untrained. But that ends now. Music builds, powerful, rising with drums and the sound of wind, like a warrior preparing for battle. Because this is your training ground. This is the start of your discipline. The Stoics had their Rome. You have your chaos, and what you do with it decides who you become. Now breathe. Focus. Because in the next part, we go deeper, into the mindset that turns struggle into strength, chaos into calm, and ordinary people into warriors of purpose. You've been told your whole life to avoid the hard things, to take the path of least resistance, to find comfort, safety, stability, and every time you do, something inside you dies a little. You feel it. The quiet voice that says, "This isn't who I am meant to be," that is not weakness. That is your strength, trapped behind layers of convenience. The truth is simple. Modern life trains comfort, kills courage. We've built a world where people have everything, except control. Food at the press of a button, entertainment at a swipe, validation in seconds. Yet, we've never been more anxious, lost, or unsatisfied. Why? Because our ancestors were built for battle, physical, mental, spiritual, and we've replaced that battle with comfort. You were born to conquer mountains, but now you are climbing algorithms. The Stoics understood this long before our world collapsed into distraction. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom isn't found in pleasure, it's found in power over your impulses. You think you're weak when you fail to resist temptation, but you're not weak, you're untrained. You've been conditioned to respond, not to control. There is the single sound of one deep drum, symbolic, grounding. Imagine your mind as that warrior's weapon. Every thought, every emotion, every desire is part of that arsenal. But if you've never trained with it, never sharpened it, then it turns on you. That is why anxiety wins. Anger rules, distraction destroys. Because you never took command of your own weapon. Marcus Aurelius trained himself through writing. Every morning, every night, he forged his thoughts into discipline. His journal wasn't a diary, it was his daily battle log. Seneca trained by visualizing hardship. He pictured himself losing everything. Wealth, status, comfort. Not as a way to frighten himself, but to prepare his mind to stay calm when life took it all. You can train like this too. And you should. Because life doesn't care about how motivated you feel, it cares about how prepared you are. Motivation is emotion. Discipline is control. Here is the difference between those who break and those who rise. The weak wait for a feeling of readiness. The trained act regardless of their feelings. The Stoic doesn't wait for motivation because he moves from principle. He doesn't ask, "Do I feel like it?" He asks, "What is the right thing to do?" That is the essence of training. It is not about removing emotion. It is about mastering it. You will feel fear. You will feel doubt. You will feel tired. But the trained mind says, "I hear you, but you do not control me." When life tests you, and it will, emotion will be first to strike. Panic, anger, sadness. And in that moment, the untrained crumble. They lash out. They quit, but the trained breathe. They observe. They respond with clarity. They know the battlefield of the mind is not won by reacting, but by ruling. Epictetus said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Think about it. How many times have you lost battles that only existed in your head? How many hours wasted worrying about what might happen, what people might think, how you might fail? That's not reality. That's imagination ruling you instead of serving you. Training means taking control of that imagination, bending it toward preparation instead of panic. The Stoic doesn't fear the unknown, he rehearses it. He visualizes loss, chaos, betrayal, not to depress himself, but so that he'll be immune when it comes. That is what you must practice when you wake up before reaching for your phone. Breathe and ask, what can I control today? Not what might go wrong, not who might judge you. Just, what is within my control right now? Your focus, your reaction, your effort. That is it, master those, and you master everything. Here is a truth most people can't handle. Every emotion you have can serve you if you learn how to use it. Anger? Turn it into energy. Fear? Turn it into awareness. Sadness? Turn it into depth. Pain? Turn it into patience. The untrained let emotions dictate their actions. The trained channel them toward purpose. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way," meaning your obstacle is your training. Every rejection, every failure, every pain is your dojo. Life isn't punishing you, it's coaching you. You say you are tired of struggling, but it is from struggle that strength is born. You say you are tired of waiting, but it is through waiting that patience is mastered. You say you are tired of pain, but pain is the place of your greatest transformation. That is the Stoic paradox. Everything you are running from is the very thing that would make you powerful. The music fades out, and the sound of soft, steady rain starts. You are not weak, you are just untrained in suffering with purpose. You have never learned to sit in pain and let it teach you. You've never learned to endure boredom without escape. You've never learned to choose silence over reaction. That is your training now, not to fight emotion, but to rule it, to watch it, without becoming it. Let discomfort sculpt you into something extraordinary. When you begin this, it will feel unbearable. Every instinct will tell you to stop, to run, to quit. But remember this, the mind that resists discomfort is the same mind that stays trapped in it. The Stoics knew that peace is not the absence of chaos, but mastery within it. You can't escape the storm, but you can train to walk through it, calm, focused, and unshaken. That is your power. This is the Stoic warrior's path, not to fight the world, but to command yourself within it, to see every pain as practice, every challenge as training, every day as a test of your endurance and clarity. And the beautiful truth, you already have everything you need. Slowly, the music fades out, leaving just the sound of wind and a deep final breath. You are not weak, you are untrained. But you won't be for long, because your training has already begun. Training begins when the world stops applauding, when no one is watching, when no one cheers, when the results are invisible. That is where your real growth happens. The Stoics knew that the strongest men were forged in silence, not in spotlight. You don't rise in public, you rise in private. You rise when you choose consistency over emotion, repetition. That is the word people hate, because it is boring. They want novelty, excitement, variety, but mastery lives in monotony. The Stoic doesn't rely on motivation. He repeats what works until it becomes who he is. Every great mind, every unshakable soul was built through routine discipline, not passion, not luck, not feeling ready. Repetition. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up every day inspired. He woke up and wrote, even when tired, even when sick, even when he wanted to give up because he knew. The mind is trained like a muscle. You don't lift a sword once and call yourself a warrior. You lift it every day until your hands bleed, and then you lift it again. The modern mind has forgotten this truth. We want fast results, instant peace, quick strength. But the Stoic laughs at that idea. He knows that real power takes time, and the longer it takes, the deeper it roots. The Stoic doesn't rush his progress. He respects the process. As Epictetus said, no great thing is created suddenly. That includes strength. That includes mastery. That includes you. The sound of slow drumming picks up, the beat of discipline itself. Every time you get up, you are training either emotion or discipline. There is no neutrality. Small acts that happen daily. Waking up at the same time you had set. Keeping a promise you made, staying calm when provoked. Each one of these is a rep for the mind. The untrained mind skips the workout. The trained mind never misses. Consider your emotions as weights. Anger is heavy. Fear is heavy. Sadness, anxiety, desire, all of them weigh on you. But the more you lift them without giving in, the stronger you get. The Stoics didn't run from their emotions. They lifted them, they carried them. They learned their weight, and in doing so, they became immovable. That is what you should do. Carry your emotions and don't let them crush you. Feel without falling, act without overreacting. That is real strength. Not an absence of feeling, but control within it. Music softens, the wind and faint rain returning. Seneca once said, "We suffer more from imagination than from reality." Meaning, what happens isn't the real enemy. It is what you think about what happens. The untrained mind spirals. It makes small problems massive. It makes momentary pain permanent. But the trained mind, the Stoic mind, observes without exaggeration. When something goes wrong, the Stoic doesn't ask, "Why me?" he asks, "What now?" That question changes everything. It pulls you out of emotion and into control. It transforms victimhood into leadership. The first step to training your mind to stay steady is being more aware. The moment you feel anger rise, breathe. That is the cue. When you feel fear tighten your chest, breathe. When sadness or doubt tries to pull you under, breathe. Every breath is a kind of defiance, a reminder that you are in control. Discipline is not glamorous. It is not loud. It is quiet. It is waking up early when you want to sleep. It is saying no when everyone says yes. It is walking alone when the crowd chooses ease. Discipline is the backbone of freedom. The untrained chase pleasure. The Stoic chooses purpose. Because, let's be honest, the modern world wants you distracted. They want your emotions running wild and your focus shattered. Because a distracted mind is a controlled mind. But the Stoic flips that. He trains to become immune to manipulation. He trains to be still in chaos, to be clear in noise, to be strong in uncertainty. Imagine this. Everyone else panics when life falls apart. You don't, you breathe, you observe, you act. That is not luck. That is training. That is the Stoic advantage. Calm is the ultimate rebellion in a world addicted to reaction. A faint heartbeat sound mingles with the music, pulsing, slow, and steady. The Stoic doesn't just train for the good days, he trains for the worst. He prepares his mind for loss, betrayal, pain, change. Not to be pessimistic, but to be ready. When you expect everything, you fear nothing. Marcus Aurelius used to tell himself every morning, "Today I will meet the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful." He didn't do this to hate people. He did it to love them better, because if he was training for their flaws, he could meet them with grace instead of rage. That is the power of training. Life can't catch you off guard. You start to view pain in a whole different light. You start looking at the world not as an unfair place, but as a proving ground. Every challenge, every setback, every disappointment, these are all weights for your soul. You can either drop them or you can lift them. The Stoic always lifts. Training is never really complete. The moment you feel like you've mastered your emotions, life has a way of testing you again. A loss, a betrayal, an unexpected turn. And you'll realize mastery isn't a destination. It is a practice. That is the path you chose now, not an easy one, but a real one. That of the Stoic warrior, for every emotion tamed. The mind will be sharper, for every trial undergone, more armor will be built. And with every moment of silence, your voice will strengthen. You aren't weak, you are training, you are rebuilding, you are rising. And soon, the world will see what training truly creates. Not someone who looks strong, but who is strong. Music fades out to the sound of a deep breath. Clarity returned. You've learned repetition. You've learned awareness. Now, in the following section, we enter the most brutal phase of training, confrontation with pain itself. Because pain isn't there to break you. It is there to reveal you. Pain, that is the part that most people avoid. The part that separates those who dream from those who become. Everyone wants strength, yet no one wants the weight which builds it. Everybody wants peace, yet nobody wants the war which earns it. And the Stoics understood something which modern minds refuse to accept. Pain isn't the enemy. It is the path. Seneca wrote, "Fire tests gold. Adversity tests the brave." And if you are feeling pain right now, emotional, physical, spiritual, you are being tested, not punished. Every wound you carry has meaning, if you train yourself to see it. The untrained mind sees pain and asks, "Why me?" The Stoic mind sees pain and asks, "What is this teaching me?" Pain is not cruelty. Pain is instruction. Pain strips away the unnecessary and shows you what's real. When life takes something from you, comfort, people, status, it's revealing how attached you were. It's showing you where your control ends and your discipline begins. The Stoics trained with pain deliberately. They didn't wait for it to arrive. They invited it. Epictetus would walk barefoot in the cold. Seneca would eat plain food for days. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself daily that loss, sickness, betrayal, all were inevitable. Why? Because pain unpracticed is panic, but pain rehearsed is power. When you train with discomfort, you stop fearing it. When you sit with pain instead of running from it, it starts to transform you. At first it burns, it breaks, it feels unbearable. But then, slowly, it begins to purify. The same fire that consumes the weak refines the strong. The untrained mind believes pain ends you. The Stoic knows it begins you.